All right, so let's look at the sheep brain, and this is a cross-section of the sheep brain. So we're going to notice we got our dura mater still wrapping around the outer edge. So here's one where we can still see the dura mater on the brain, and I've worked it off on a different one, but I didn't like how that one looked, so we're sticking with this one. So the main parts of the brain that we want to be able to notice right out of the gate, of course, all of this is my cerebrum. This back here is going to be my cerebellum. This is my diencephalon, and then this is my brain stem that will eventually turn into my spinal cord on the way down. So when we look at this, it's hard to distinguish a lot of these structures because everything's the same color, everything kind of looks the same. So what I do to make this easier for me is I look for this little round structure. What you have to visualize here is this little circle. This is my thalamus. So thalamus, of course, is the gateway for sensory. So this is my thalamus. The area under my thalamus down here, this is going to be my hypothalamus. So thalamus, hypothalamus. And then this part and this part are my midbrain. So midbrain, midbrain. So we go thalamus, hypothalamus, midbrain. All right, so underneath my hypothalamus, down here, I've got a couple of structures that I want to point out. So this part here, this is part of my optic chiasm. So remember, chiasm means X, so you can see how this is starting that process to actually form the X. Then along the back, as I work my way posteriorly, you see this little lightly colored bulge right here. This is my mammillary body. Then this becomes my medulla oblongata, because that's part of my brain stem. And then this little bulge down here at the bottom, this is my pons. So that one's pretty easy to spot. Most people find the pons. Let me push that, open up that dura mater there so you can see. Boom. I ripped it a little bit. Pons. Medulla, pons. So the medulla becomes the spinal cord, and then this part right here, there's the central canal of my spinal cord. Now, working our way back up, thalamus, hypothalamus, mammillary body, midbrain, medulla, pons. This down here, this little bulge at the bottom, this is my pituitary gland. And then we said this was my cerebrum, this is my cerebellum. If I look at my cerebrum, what I'm going to notice right out of the gate is I've got this structure here. This is an open space. Let me try to open that up a little bit. You can kind of see it there. This is one of my lateral ventricles where cerebrospinal fluid flows through there. And this little edge, the little lip to it, this little edge, this is my corpus callosum, which connects the two sides of my cerebrum so that they can communicate with each other. Now, this little ball right here, this is my pineal gland. That's the one that secretes the melatonin that regulates your day-night cycles. Now, when I'm looking at my cerebellum in the back, cerebrum, cerebellum, don't confuse those. First thing that pops out is this white matter. Remember, we call that the arbor vitae. You can kind of see how it takes on that white tree appearance. And then along the bottom, there should be a little lip here for my fourth ventricle. Somewhere in here. I'm not really seeing it too good on this one. Let me check some of these other ones. We can see it a little bit better. Fourth ventricle. Fourth ventricle. That's a pretty good fourth ventricle right in through there. All right, let me just double check, make sure we got everything. The olfactory bulb is at the very front under the dura mater. That's not one I'm going to ask you about, so don't worry about the olfactory bulb. We've got to take the dura mater off. Taking off the dura mater often causes us to lose our pituitary gland and some of the posterior structures as well. All right, so one more time. We're starting with the thalamus, hypothalamus, midbrain. Thalamus, hypothalamus, midbrain. Then I've got my mammillary body. I've got my optic chiasm, my optic bulb, my lateral ventricle, and then the corpus callosum is the little lip edge to it. My cerebellum, the arbor vitae, the fourth ventricle. I've got my pituitary gland. I've got my pineal gland. I've got my medulla oblongata, the pons, Remember, these two help regulate the rate and depth of breathing. Becomes my spinal cord, and then there's the central canal to my spinal cord back here. All right, so hopefully that helps. Sheep brain in a nutshell. Good luck.